Episode 469, Trapping Simon, Part 1.
You have a good eye. I deem you the better of the two. It's a shame you had to share a womb, Simon said, taking a liking to Caleb while he disliked Reed. Finally, someone agrees with me, Caleb said. Simon, I don't have much time to waste. Caleb, stay put so you do not bump into anyone else, Edgar said, not having a sword. He wanted to get out of there soon. Right. Simon returned the sword to its stand. The missing young women. I heard that the king wanted more nobles involved in the search. I agreed that it should not be only you leading the search. I want to help. What do you need me to do? He sat back down in front of Edgar. We'll need to start searching homes and looking at deserted areas in the kingdom. The king wants to find the culprit before another young lady can be taken or killed. It would be helpful if you convinced some of your friends to join us, and if there is anyone you find suspicious, please bring it to me or the town guards. No one is safe with this person running wild. Not even our wives, said Edgar. No, they aren't. I fear for Kate's life whenever someone mentions what happened to those poor ladies. We have to catch that bastard, Simon said, gripping the edge of the chair as if he were angry. A bastard indeed, but for me, he is more of a coward, Edgar said, lapping one foot over the other and resting his chin on his hand. Simon disagreed with Edgar. How so? He's killed many young women since he started, hasn't he? I don't know the count, but that makes him quite dangerous. He attacks young women who cannot defend themselves, and even tries to attack the little boy who saw a body being placed on the snow. I view any man who goes after people who are defenseless to be a coward. Why doesn't he go after a man like me? I wonder how pitiful this bastard must be. The scum of the earth, who thinks this makes him something by torturing women. Probably does it because he's never been loved and takes his frustration out on women, Edgar said, glancing at Simon's nails digging into the leather of the chair arm. I have to credit him for hiding who he is so well for all this time. But I will cut this short soon. I look forward to you joining me on the search, Simon. Having a man like you who cares for others is always good. I will call for a meeting in the palace in 3 days to see who else will be joining us. I look forward to meeting with you then. I'm afraid I must move on to the next home. Edgar unlapped his legs and stood up. Edgar stuck out his hand for Simon to shake. Let's get this coward together. Simon bit his tongue. He greatly disliked the insults Edgar had unknowingly thrown at him. He considered attacking Edgar to show the man they spoke of was no coward. Edgar was going to eat his words one day. He should count himself lucky that Simon intended to hurt him by getting Alessandra first, or Edgar would have ended up with Bella for his insults. Simon stood up from his seat and shook Edgar's hand. Let's get him together. Allow me to show the 3 of you out. Next time, please come with the Duchess so Kate can speak with her sister. Maybe, Edgar replied, but he had no plans of bringing Alessandra anywhere near Simon, let alone Kate. I hope you can convince the others to join us. I will speak to my friends a bit later, Simon said, opening the front door and holding it open for Edgar. Edgar, Reed, and Caleb exited the home and walked toward the carriage without saying a word to each other. Only when the carriage was out of the gates did they begin to discuss what happened inside Simon's home. Do you remember the last time we marched with the king's army? We spent the night near a bar where the owner had a beautiful daughter. He used to eye the hell out of us to make sure we wouldn't make a move on his daughter. That's how it felt to be in that house. I felt watched, but not by Simon. It was the servants, Caleb said, shaking his body to eliminate the eerie feeling. I did meet a couple of eyes when I was looking around. Reed agreed with Caleb. The house had a weird vibe to it. Kate mouthed help to me. Did you see how he tensed up when you spoke about a coward? I wasn't sure of it before, but it's him. If he's not the one taking the girls, he is something else we need to look out for. I don't like this Kate often, but do you think leaving her behind is safe? It looked like she was desperately trying to get Edgar's attention, said Caleb. The poor girl might get hurt by him bumping into her. I am not going to leave him be. We are going to the palace right now to tell Tobias about this. We must attack Simon before he hurts Kate or gets suspicious of my visit. His personality seems to be different each time I have spoken to him. I don't like his interest in Alessandra and Kate. Alessandra's time outside the home will be on hold for now, Edgar said. Reed, see if you can track down who built that house. I want a layout of it by nightfall. I want to strike him no later than tomorrow night. Caleb assigns a group of men to keep watch of Simon's house in the meantime. We have no clear proof other than Kate wanting help, but it is better to search than risk letting him get away with whatever he is doing. Not a word of this to Alessandra, Edgar said, not wanting her to be concerned. There was already too much on her plate with the babies and now her mother. Kate and Alessandra did not like each other, but Edgar would not put it past Alessandra to want to help Kate get away from Simon. Kate still needed to be punished for what she did to Alessandra's face and the abuse inflicted on Alessandra when they lived under the same roof, but it wasn't meant to come from Simon. Edgar tapped his fingers on the door of the carriage. He needed to look more into Simon's history. Simon met frequently to see if there was anyone working with him. It was clear as day his servants were. Edgar tried to place what reason Simon would have to take the young ladies and kill them. He couldn't remember any connection between Simon and the disappeared young ladies. Was this all for sport, and he was just randomly taking them? What was the reason some young women seemed to live longer than others after they were taken? That bastard, Edgar muttered. The three of you are serious that you believe the person taking the girls is Simon? Why? Tobias asked, not seeing how Simon fit with all of this. What could make the quiet man do such a thing? Tobias knew Edgar would never come to him with this if there weren't some clue, but right now he was puzzled. I don't know why he is doing this just yet, but there is something off about him, and we cannot ignore Kate asking Caleb for help. I had suspicions about him before, and now I am led back to him. I will take all responsibility if I am wrong, Edgar promised. No. Tobias sat down in his seat. If Kate, of all people, is asking you for help, there is something wrong with Simon. That bastard! He was coming around giving his concerns about those women. Okay, let's fully assume that it is him. Where does he keep them? You said his servants look to be on his side, but he wouldn't put the girls in his home, would he? I doubt he keeps them in his home. It is not like he doesn't get guests in his home. There has to be another place where he keeps them. Reed is going to get a layout of Simon's house so we can find any rooms he could keep someone in, said Edgar. Good. Keep this among the four of us for now. Anyone else who hears about this might just think of this as a case where a wife got hit by her husband and is acting out, as if that is not a bad thing. This would all be made easier if we could speak to Kate, find out what exactly she needs help with. Fuck, Tobias cursed, running his hand through his hair. I doubt we will be seeing Kate away from Simon anytime soon. Unless you invite them to the palace tomorrow night so I can use that time to search the house. Invite a few more nobles so it doesn't seem strange right after my visit. Say you want to make a big announcement, so it is important they all attend," Edgar said, walking to the window to look at the view of the town. "And what announcement is that? Don't tell me you are referring to announcing Hazel's pregnancy. We aren't ready yet. It's a win-win with this announcement. The kingdom is restless, since there has not been an announcement for an heir, and you will help me catch the madman killing young women. It is time to make the announcement. I need the distraction," Edgar replied. "Why the hell don't you announce your wife's pregnancy? I am trying to play it safe for Hazel with these early weeks. Damn it!" Tobias gritted his teeth and smacked his hand on the table. It was true that they did have to come out and share Hazel's pregnancy soon. Talk of him having a mistress who could bear him a child since the queen seemed to be barren began again. The pity everyone felt when they learned it was not Hazel's fault. The kingdom was left without an heir for so long quickly disappeared. "Fine, I will do it. Getting that bastard is what matters most. I cannot sit through being told of another young woman dying again. I hope this is it and we can finally put this to an end. Bring peace to the families. I will get a list of anyone we have not found yet. Dead or alive, you need to find them in the open window I will create for you. What will you do about the servants? They might put up a fight," Tobias said, as from what he heard, they seemed pretty loyal to Simon. "Then they will die," Edgar honestly answered. He didn't care if Simon had threatened his servants and brought them under his command with fear. If Simon was out of the house and his servants chose to fight Edgar, who was there to help, they would die. Edgar's main focus was to save any girls still alive, and anyone who got in the way of that would die. "I suppose it is inevitable. Keep a few alive, or wound them enough to get them from fighting you. I want most of them alive, to be questioned. We will need to get Hazel involved to get Simon away from Kate. Have her momentarily pull the woman away from the men and question Kate. I will send a message to you as fast as I can if we guessed wrong," said Tobias. "Reed, Caleb, do what I ordered you to and come back to me right after. I want someone watching that house right now. Watch who goes in and comes out. Go." Edgar sent them away. Simon was an intelligent man who could be suspicious as they spoke. He did hide from them for this long, after all. If Simon did not show up at the dinner, it would be a sign that he knew Edgar was on top of him, and he could only point to Kate as the reason he was exposed. Her life was at risk. "Have the invitations be sent out right now, Tobias. You'll need to double the guards tomorrow night to protect everyone attending. I need to find out more about Simon in the meantime," Edgar said, walking to the door to leave. He had a few sources who could tell him about Simon. "Watch your back, Edgar. You can't underestimate him," Tobias said. "I know," Edgar replied, leaving the room to find what he needed. "It feels like the days are going by too fast. I'm going to be an old man before I know it," Peter muttered, watching the sun setting to begin the ending of another day in Lockwood. The view of the sun going down was one of the things he loved about the church. Peter stood on the church's steps with his hands behind his back, enjoying the moment of peace before the night crowd started coming into the church. He remembered visiting another church in the middle of the night and asking for forgiveness. His mother would be happy to see how much he had changed his life. "I should pay her a visit soon," Peter said, returning to the church. He needed to bring out the blankets for anyone who needed to use the church as a shelter for the cold night. "Should I put on some tea and bring out some biscuits for anyone with an empty stomach?" Peter left the doors wide open so visitors could sit down or pray inside. He hoped no one was drunk out of their minds waltzing inside the church tonight, as he was not in the mood to clean up after someone. "This should be enough for now." Peter returned with blankets to be placed on the benches. "Oh," he said when he noticed someone seated close to the altar. "Good evening." He greeted the person as he placed the blankets down. "Rude," he muttered when there was no response. "God isn't going to answer your prayers." "Hello again." Peter froze and looked at the visitor with the familiar voice. "Simon? Marquess? What are you doing here?" "I'm having a rough day. I had some trouble with my wife today, and it seems my fun will be over soon. I came here hoping to get advice from the priest who wed us," said Simon. "Well, my advice was you shouldn't have married her, but no one listens to me," Peter thought. "What advice can I give you?" Peter asked, slowly approaching Simon's seat. He had not forgotten how Simon had frightened him, but this person was in need. "How can I make up with your wife?" "No, there is no hope for us. She isn't what I thought she would be. I will deal with her later. How can I start over, priest?" "I don't think you should give up on your marriage yet. To start over, you should think back to what made you love her." "No, I meant my life. How do I start it over? Or should I just accept that I have been dead inside for a long time and just end it all, have a grand finale to it?" Simon asked. His game could not go on forever. He wanted to have a big end to it. "Edgar isn't playing the game fair. He's playing out of turn before I make a move." Peter stopped right before he could pass Simon. "What? I'm confused about what we are talking about now. What game?" "You seem quite close to Edgar," Simon said, looking up at Peter. Peter took a step back as there was a crazed look in Simon's eyes. "I assure you that we are not close. I hate that bastard. We're just a priest and duke who run into each other from time to time. Whatever you hate him for, I hate him for it too." Simon chuckled. "A priest who lies while standing in a church. How interesting. You will make a nice addition to the collection," he said.
Episode 471, Trapping Simon, Part 3.
"I don't want to be added to anything." Peter slowly backed away from Simon. His eyes widened when Simon revealed 4 daggers in his hands. "You dislike Edgar. Why don't you go after him instead of a poor little priest? I have nothing to do with this." "You seem quite friendly with him. I hope taking you upsets him. Running away from me will only get you killed, and it increases the chance of another priest arriving to be killed. Come with me quietly, and I will take care of you," Simon said, taking a step forward with each step Peter took back. "This town is no longer fun. I shouldn't have married Kate. I should have just placed her with the others, but I must admit she was much better than them before she started living with me. Perhaps I should have let her get comfortable in my home before I showed her my world. She has a mind like mine. We could have toyed with this town together." "A shame," Simon said, picking out the first dagger to use. Why is my luck so bad with these nobles? Damn it, Peter cursed. He didn't take his eyes off Simon as he headed toward the church entrance. He was not going to die right here at the hands of Simon. I don't care if I drag you out of here, dead or alive, as long as I have your body to show to Edgar when I get him. Don't, Simon warned, when Peter positioned himself to run to the open door. I have quite the aim with my daggers. See? Simon lifted his hand and threw the first dagger, aiming it for Peter's head. You crazy bastard! Peter yelled as he ducked. Luckily, he had been in worse situations because of his past. Crazy? Simon sneered, irritated by the word. I'm simply a man getting his fun after years of abuse. Instead of running, Peter knew he had to fight, or he would risk a dagger going to his head if he ran. He could try to get Simon to use up all of the daggers in his hands, but Peter did not want to risk one hitting him. I've had enough of you, nobles, Peter said, charging toward Simon. Simon smiled, enjoying that one of his targets was fighting him back like this. He tried to slash Peter with the remaining daggers in his hands. Peter grabbed Simon's hand before his face could be struck. Simon had underestimated him. I am not dying tonight, he said, fighting to push Simon off his feet. Shit, he cursed as Simon was far stronger than him, and it had been a long time since he had to fight anyone like this. Boring, Simon said in a dry tone. He used his left hand that had gone behind him to grab a bench to stop himself from falling backward, to punch Peter in his face, and to release his right hand. Peter stumbled to the side, almost falling after his feet got tangled up when he stumbled. The right side of his face was in pain, and from the force Simon used, he wouldn't be surprised if his jaw were messed up. Coward? Simon looked at the daggers in his hands. The word had not left his mind since Edgar insulted him. He had never used daggers to get any of the women he took. He could always overpower them. I don't need these for you. He dropped the daggers. Edgar was going to see that he was not a coward. Peter could not believe Simon had dropped the daggers. He could now put up a good fight to overpower Simon, fight long enough for one of the other priests to arrive, or make a run for it, and hope Simon would not take up a dagger to throw. Come now. Simon rolled up the sleeves of his shirt. He paused, picking up on footsteps entering the church. When Simon turned around, he wasn't surprised by who had entered the church. Well, this just proves my guess was correct. Edgar knows. I'm glad it was you tailing me and not your brother. I happen to like him. Reed tapped his sword on his shoulder. If Edgar had not assigned them to watch Simon's home, he would have missed Simon trying to kill the priest. Women, priests, you just can't seem to pick on someone else who would give you a good fight. Coward. He smiled, knowing he hated that word. Mother is gonna kill us if she finds out we're fighting in a church. Simon looked behind him at another door where Caleb now stood. Peter, come here. Caleb called to the priest, who stood far too close to Simon. If you're gonna be killed by anyone, it should only be Edgar. I don't want to be killed by him either, Peter internally screamed. After this, he would pack his bags and get far away from Lockwood. He already had a duke constantly trying to kill him. His life could not take a crazy Marquess. I married those two bastards to their wives. No, Edgar, I am a little disappointed, Simon said, lunging at Peter and capturing him on his way out. Simon took hold of Peter, pulling him against his body, and placed Peter in a chokehold. Not so fast, Simon said, taking out another dagger and pointing it to Peter's neck. Peter! Caleb smacked his face. Why the hell didn't you move faster? I was lost in my thoughts, and you're not supposed to say hell in church. Just save me, Peter whined as he felt the tip of the dagger at his throat. I haven't had this much fun for a long time. If only Edgar were here to make this all the more exciting. Don't tell me that he is at home with his wife, leaving the two of you to end this game, Simon asked, disliking how Edgar was ruining the fun. Release the priest, Simon. We're not letting you get out of here with him as your hostage. Be a man and fight against us. We won't all attack at once, Reed said, removing his sword from his shoulder and placing it on the floor to drag as he walked. Quite frankly, I don't care if you kill the priest. What? Peter screamed inside. What was the point of them being here if not to save him? Reed was not going to let Peter, who simply had to move away from Simon before, be the reason Simon got out of there. He would rather kill Simon now than have Edgar bother with this man. If Simon died now, Reed could go home and sleep, hopefully. Is that so? Simon replied, relaxing his hold around Peter's neck. Then there is no point in me holding him. Peter sighed in relief, but it was short-lived. He felt something pierce his side, and Simon pushed him forward. Simon pulled the dagger from Peter's side as the man stumbled forward. He ignored the twins approaching him from both sides. I am not getting out of here, he admitted, as he could not fight against the two men who towered over him. I have a new game for Edgar. See if he can find them without me. Simon chuckled as he stabbed himself in the chest with his dagger. He was ready to die the moment he realized Edgar was onto him. He wanted to end with a grand fight against Edgar, but Edgar again ruined the game by not showing up. The game of searching for the young woman he took would not end with his death. There was no way for anyone to find Kate and Bella after his death. Now he could move on to his next game. He was finding his parents in hell and torturing them. Ah, what a time I had. Simon staggered to the floor as he tried to sit down. Caleb was surprised to see that this was how Simon would die. Peter! Caleb rushed to the priest, holding himself up against a bench and covering the wound Simon created. We have to get you to a doctor, now. Reed went to stand in front of Simon instead. The man truly was a coward, as Edgar said. He thought the priest would have been an easy target, since priests were normally nonviolent. He attacked women he could overpower, but the moment he had to fight the twins, he killed himself. Simon wasn't worthy of a grand fight against Edgar. Why aren't you asking where the girls are? Aren't you curious about where Kate is? If only I could witness her mother seeing what happened to her. Simon smiled. Reed didn't see the point in asking when Simon wouldn't tell them. That was the point of him killing himself. He was taking the location of the women with him. Simon disliked Reed's silence. I truly hate you, he muttered. We arrived as fast as possible, but it was too late. He stabbed himself in the chest. The doctor says he aimed close to his heart. Edgar looked down at Simon, who lay still on a table. It was quite the news when he was informed Reed and Caleb had caught Simon, and Peter was wounded. "We should have acted quicker and stopped him from stabbing himself. We're sorry," Caleb apologized. Simon should be alive to be punished for what he did. Edgar didn't see the need for an apology. "There was nothing more you could have done. He intended to die once he was found out. I'd rather the two of you not be injured in a fight." "So everything is fine, as long as only Peter gets injured," Peter yelled from the bed he was lying on. "The doctor said that I am lucky to be alive after bleeding so much. If Simon had pressed that dagger into me any further, I would be dead too," Peter argued. "Peter, you said you lived a colorful life. Shouldn't you know how to fight?" Edgar asked without looking at the loudmouthed priest. "I am not used to fighting anymore," Peter replied. "It doesn't come naturally to me anymore. This bastard here told Simon that he didn't care whether I was alive or not." He pointed at Reed. Reed rolled his eyes at the priest, who should count himself lucky to be alive. "I did." He stood on his word. "I am getting out of this town tomorrow," Peter muttered. "Can all of you shut the fuck up?" Edgar snapped, as their bickering was the last thing he wanted to hear. "Caleb, go to the town guard and have them come for Simon's body. They must send a group to join me to look for Kate and whoever is alive with her." "Right," Caleb answered, hurrying out of the room to do as he was ordered. "Come with me, Reed. We need to get a head start searching for Kate," Edgar said, looking away from Simon's body as he walked out of the room. "He went as far as to kill himself. Do you think Kate is alive?" Reed asked, as he doubted they would find her alive. "Our job is to find her and anyone else Simon was hiding, dead or alive," Edgar replied. It was an equal chance that Kate could be dead or alive. It depended on if Simon suspected her of exposing him. Edgar and Reed left the doctor and went to Simon's house in his carriage. There was no telling what awaited them in Simon's home. Edgar was informed that Simon wanted them to continue the search for the women he took. What Simon had done was far from over. "Should you tell the Duchess you will be away long?" Reed asked, as Edgar had not returned home since they met with Simon early in the day. Edgar tapped his fingers on the carriage door as it began to move. "I should. She is probably worrying her little heart. He should still be alive, so I could have killed him for taking me away from my wife and children for so long. We need a long trip after this." He should be at home, lying in bed with Alessandra right now, witnessing the small changes in her body as their children grew. The only bright side was the fact Simon's death meant he would no longer be dealing with this case soon, so that he could enjoy more time with his family. Reed looked at Edgar, tapping his fingers. "You are worrying your little heart out, too. Worrying she's stressing herself while waiting for you to return. Before we arrive, answer me honestly. Do you want to see Kate still alive? After everything she has done to your wife?" "I would like to see her punished, but not under these circumstances," Edgar replied. No one deserved to die from Simon's twisted games. "We'll drop her off at the court to be punished for what she did to Alessandra's face right after. We're saving her from her crazy dead husband just to have her imprisoned later," Reed thought. After everything leading up to this point, Reed found it funny how Kate's life depended on Edgar's help. The ride to Simon's home remained silent, as the two tried to think of what might be awaiting them. More than an hour later, Edgar's carriage arrived at Simon's home's front, but something differed from the last visit. "There are no servants here to watch the gates," Reed said as he opened the carriage door for him and Edgar. The gates of Simon's home were wide open, welcoming anyone from the road inside. Reed kept his hand on his sword since he had a bad feeling. Edgar looked around at the property, which was more silent than before. All that was heard was the high wind shaking the leaves on the trees. At night, Edgar's estate was never this silent. Someone was always awake at this time, making a bit of noise, either his guards, the servants, or the animals. Even though Simon had died faster than he had probably anticipated, Edgar didn't trust blindly walking into Simon's house, which was full of servants loyal to him. They had no clue if Simon had laid out traps for anyone coming to get him. Simon was not to be underestimated in his death. This man still went unnoticed as he took women from town. Instead of going to the front door, Edgar went to a window with Reed, who busted it open so they could enter. They created a loud enough noise for anyone at home to come running, but the house remained quiet. As the two entered, no one confronted them about breaking into Simon's home. Edgar was the first to notice why the house was so quiet. "They're dead," he said, going toward a maid who lay dead right at the bottom of the stairs to go to the second floor. A knife was stuck in the back of her head. She wasn't the only one. Edgar stepped over her body and followed the bloody prints of someone's shoes, which led him into the kitchen to discover a more bloody mess. "He already killed anyone who might know where Kate is," Reed muttered. It was why Simon was so sure they would not be able to find who he was hiding. Once again, he didn't think they would discover Kate alive. "He probably figured out we knew and went on a killing spree. They kept his secrets only to be killed by him at the end. It looks like they were about to make dinner," Reed said, as vegetables and meat were placed on the counters. "Search every room in the house now," Edgar said, leaving the kitchen to do a deep search of the house. Unfortunately, he was not given an outline of Simon's house. Simon had made a move quicker than Edgar expected. They were searching blindly and were at risk of missing any secret rooms Simon had.